Does your lifestyle and healthcare changes suffer from paralysis by analysis, perfectionism, not knowing where to start if you don't do it perfectly? I can relate to that. Or giving up if things don't go exactly as planned, or if the data doesn't support what you wanted. Maybe you're scale obsessed. You weigh every day and one day you're down, the next day you're up +1, and you get discouraged because what you're doing must not be working. Or your blood sugar numbers, they come down and then they bounce back up, and you get discouraged because this low-fat, whole food, plant-based eating isn't working. See, look, you had a high number this morning. But you know what? It's just data. It's just data. Gotta watch the trends. It's like the stock market. Today, you might be really up, and tomorrow you might be really down. But what's the overall trend? Are you trending up, or are you trending down over time? And I think sometimes with our bodies, it's very wobbly out here, guys. I gotta watch the ground some so I don't fall. I think sometimes with our bodies, we get so unrealistic about how we interpret the data. One bad day or bad week of the numbers not moving how we wanted to leads to us just throwing everything out. Must not be working. There's no reason for me to try anymore. I quit. And it's very unrealistic. I know for myself, my health has gone downhill for 12 years. For me to think that in a few days or a few weeks or even a few months that everything's going to turn around and be great and I'm going to be strong and healthy and 16 again is not realistic. I'm 55. I'm about to be 56 years old. And I've never given up hope since I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I never have given up hope that I could turn it around. And I've always kept trying. And, a lot of things I tried, they didn't work. And it wasn't because I quit or gave up. And I'm not saying I didn't have moments when I did. But my overall trend was to not give up. And it just didn't work. Keto, I think, is what got me in this mess. Low carb, more, I won't say carnivore dieting because I've never been carnivore, but low carb, keto. Because it wasn't because the food I was eating was so unhealthy. I mean, this is where I live. This is where our horses and our cattle and our chickens and our hogs and things that we have hunted were raised. The food in my freezer was raised here. Now, it looks pretty bad these days. It's overgrown and weeded. Weedy. Sorry, it's overgrown and weedy because we don't have cattle anymore. And we don't have the horses anymore or the chickens or the hogs. And heck, I don't even have a tractor anymore these days. So I can't mow it. So it's kind of in the wild right now. But this is where my meat came from. And my husband's always been a gardener, so we've always had spring, summer, winter gardeners, and yet my health still steadily declined. And out here, there is no DoorDash. I don't have DoorDash. That's not a struggle for me. I can't relate to the temptation of hitting up DoorDash to bring me some standard American fast processed food. It's just not a choice. I'd have to go to town and get it. And when I'm in town, we have in one of the nearest towns that we're in most frequently, it's about a 25-minute drive one way to get there. And, we got Sonic, McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Mr. Gatti's, Subway, and some Mexican restaurants. There's a bunch of Mexican restaurants for a little town. There's like 5 and a Chinese buffet. And that's about it. And I gotta say, none of them are that great. And even when I would eat food like that, I burned out on those places a long time ago. I burned out on that several tax seasons ago. I'm a tax preparer. My husband's a CPA. We run a tax office together, an accounting office together. And during tax season, years ago, when our office was first in town, we ate all the local places for lunch because it was quick, convenient, and easy. And boy, I burned out after about one tax season. So it's not really ever been a struggle. So all my food has usually been eaten and prepared and eaten at home. And so it was always very frustrating why diet and exercise didn't work for me. And now, since I found the low-fat, whole food, plant-based way of eating, the research makes so much sense why it's been so hard for me, because that's not what my body needed. And we've kind of stalled out here because I came up here. I was planning to take y'all for a full walk this morning, but I thought my son, he keeps this walking path mowed for me so I don't trip and fall, because there are holes, the ground's very uneven, and the grass, when it's overgrown, I can't see where I'm stepping. And I thought my son had mowed my path, but now that I'm up here, it turns out he hasn't. His dad likes to take a different track than me, and so I think he mowed his dad's path and left mine and didn't do it. I can't blame him though. He did mow it about 2 weeks ago, and I never got out here and walked it because I walked around the house instead of out here. So you're gonna see me staring at the ground a lot because I don't want to fall down, but I would like to make this walk today. But anyway, my point, I digress without notes. My point is what is my point? I think I digressed really bad. My original point was paralysis by analysis. I think I got weeds coming up my shorts. I tend to be a perfectionist. Maybe it comes because I'm the oldest child of 5. Maybe it comes from my generation and the expectations that were put on me. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest child of a single mother. But I tend to struggle with, I like data. Data helps me make sense of things, but data can also paralyze me. And it can feed my perfectionism. And when that perfectionism kicks in, it tends to push me to really either overdo it or give up. It turns out there was only a small section my son didn't mow. I guess his dad's path and my path connect, because now I'm back on mowed parts. So for me, in May, when I first learned about the low-fat, whole food, plant-based program through the Mastering Diabetes program, I knew right away that for it to be sustainable for me, I was going to have to do things that made it sustainable for me. And trying to get all the information and go all in and do it perfectly was not going to work. And in the book, Mastering Diabetes, they actually talk about being sustainable, starting off small, making a meal change with breakfast for 3 to 4 weeks, making small changes over a 3-month period. Well, I was caught between, I knew that wouldn't work for me, because as long as I was slowly making changes, I was still going to let the old things be a part of my days. So I had to find a way to go with the idea of making it sustainable, but at the same way doing it in a way that worked for me. So I jumped in on May the 12th, and I started with where I was at and what I did know. And I went in with the mindset that I could learn as I went, and that if I could just get through each day with these new changes of eating habits, that I could get there, but that I had to be realistic and be okay with the small changes each day and each week. So I know how to make a pot of beans. Just traditionally, my beans always had meat or meat-based broths in them. My sons, my grown sons, they live about 45 minutes away. One of them especially, well, multiple of them, love my beans. But one of them loves my beans so much that he will call me up and say, Mom, I need you to make a pot of beans for me. I'm coming over and I'm going to eat them, and I want you to make me enough that I can take some home too so I can eat them. And you know, what's a mom to do? You make the beans, right? So beans I'm good at. And beans are a big part of low-fat, whole food, plant-based eating. So that's where I started. I started with the beans. Got some soaking right away, got them going. Now greens are also a big part of this. I don't like greens as much. And I knew that, and I didn't want my dislike of greens to lead to my failure. So, I don't like greens fresh, but I don't mind them as much if they're kind of wilted or cooked. So, what I've done, and slowly over time I've gotten where I can add more and more greens, and they can be a little fresher than before. I'm acclimating. But in the beginning, I would start with a small amount of greens and make sure the bean juice was really good and hot, and put that over the greens and let it kind of wilt them. Let it kind of cook them up, because then I didn't mind eating them. And salt. Mastering Diabetes recommends reducing or eliminating salt. Well, not gonna lie, I like my salt. I like my garlic salt. So I have tried to reduce it some, but I have not tried to eliminate it. Because for me, that's not sustainable right now. It may be in time, but it's not today. Today, I want my garlic salt. But what I've had to realize is I'm learning the data. I'm learning the information about how to cook and eat low-fat, whole food, plant-based. But I'm modifying and changing it to meet my needs. And it's not perfect. And it's not gonna be perfect, because that's not sustainable. And I look at it as each day, if I chose to have a smoothie, and maybe I had 16 ounces of smoothie, but the recommended amount is to have 1 serving of 8 ounces. That 16 ounces of smoothie that kept me on the track of eating green foods, of staying low-fat, whole food, plant-based, was a way better choice than going and having a hamburger. At least for me. I'm not knocking anyone that does keto, low-carb. If that's working for you, great, keep at it. But for me, it hasn't worked. And so for me, I'm having to make those changes from being a Texas-raised farm girl, raising my own beef, hunting my own meat, being a meat and potatoes person who had to give up potatoes for a while due to diabetes. You know, it's a big change. My brother was recently diagnosed with diabetes, and the first thing when I told him about eating low-fat, whole food, plant-based was, I eat meat. I'm not doing that. And I said, yeah, buddy, you're just not desperate enough yet. Because, see, I had to get desperate enough. If I had seen the information years ago, and maybe I did, I don't remember seeing it until May, but maybe I did. And maybe I wasn't desperate enough to make those changes. But you know what? I've been desperate enough. I got desperate enough this spring. You know, I had no energy. I was in so much pain. And, you know, I felt like I was just knocking on the door of not good things. You know, I don't think saying death or strokes was dramatic. My blood sugar was at 565. My feet, my legs, my hips hurt so bad, tingling in my arms and my hands. Back in January, I was walking a mile every morning and I had to quit because the pain was so bad. I just couldn't do it anymore. But I enjoy coming out here and walking with my dogs, Rowdy and Lizzie. They love to walk. My husband walks every morning. Why live out in this beautiful land if I can't get out and enjoy it? So my story has never been about quitting or giving up on the things that I love. It was about my inability to do it. And now then that I'm getting the knowledge and the healing from eating low-fat, whole food, plant-based, I'm back out here and I'm enjoying it. And this is actually my longest walk today. You guys are a good distraction. I'm loving having you on this walk with me and the dogs. It's helping me to ignore the pain in my hip and just keep going. But, take the data and get the knowledge, find a starting place and start there. Maybe you're new to the idea of low-fat, whole food, plant-based, and maybe all you know is it means you can eat beans. Well, while you're figuring the rest out, just start eating beans. I'm not saying eat only beans, but, have a serving of beans today. Maybe you don't normally eat any beans. So wouldn't that be a jumping off spot? Maybe your commitment is, today, I'm going to eat 1 cup of beans or 1 can of beans or half a can of beans, because normally I hadn't had beans in months. And so this week, with every meal, I'm going to add a side of beans. And I'm going to try and learn more. I'm going to see what else I can change and add. Don't get paralyzed with perfectionism. Don't get paralyzed while you wait to analyze all the data and decide where to start and how to start. Don't overcomplicate it, because then it's not sustainable. And you know what? I'll tell you, the truth is beans are a great starting point. When I was younger, I lived in Brazil for a little while, and every meal we had basically black beans and rice as a side with every meal. And if you look at many countries, Latin America and Africa, different countries, beans and rice are one of the staple foods. So somehow we've gotten away from that here in the state. In the South, it's a staple of Mexican food, but of course it has a lot of oils in it, and it's the refined white rice. But don't overcomplicate it. Find a change, just one change that you can make this week, and go with that. Go with that one thing. And as you make that one change this week, do a little more research. Think a little bit more about it, and pick one thing that you can maybe change or add next week. And get the data. If you want to weigh yourself, do it, or don't do it. A lot of people really can't handle the scale. It gets very discouraging because of the unrealistic expectations. And we're back to the not mode section. So I picked my way through here. Anyway, be realistic about your expectations. It didn't take one day or 1 week for your weight to go up, for your health to decline, for your blood sugar to climb. Sorry, not totally out of breath, but a little. That didn't happen in 1 day or 1 week. So don't expect the scale and your glucometer reflect drastic changes just because you made a change this week or this month. Decide whether or not you think those changes are going to work for you, and then go forth in confidence that over time they will, and that it'll be sustainable. I know I've seen online people that have very fast and dramatic weight loss stories, and I'm happy for them. But me personally, I'm not looking for fast and dramatic. I'm looking for sustainable. I'm looking for lifestyle changes that 10 years from now, assuming I'm still living, that 10 years from now, that I'll still be able to do. And so that's where, okay, we're getting back to mode section. Whew. All right, back to mode. Still gotta watch the ground though. There's holes out here. I'm gonna fall off in them. But you know, make changes that are sustainable for you. There is no food police. There's nobody coming in my kitchen to see what did I eat today. And even when I show y'all, you know, there's trolls out there. There's people, there's haters. I'm gonna show you one day something that I had for breakfast or lunch or dinner, and they're gonna have some comeback or some comment about the brand or the style. Well, you know what? What did they eat today? It doesn't matter what they think. It matters what I think and what I can do. You know, I was watching a new channel that I found yesterday and really admire, really proud of Ken, who runs that channel. I think it's called Losing It 2025. You ought to check him out. But I saw a video where he was preparing for a men's breakfast at his church. And you know what? I really appreciated his planning. His planning to make something at the men's breakfast that worked for his lifestyle change and goals, and it worked for some of the other men to have other options besides bacon and eggs and sausage and pancakes and all the traditional breakfast foods. And then I saw in the comments, somebody commented that, oh, as soon as they saw he used Quaker oats, he lost them because he should have used, was it Bob's Red Mill steel cut oats? You know what? So what? He used Quaker oats for the men's breakfast. He was trying. It was better for him than eating the eggs, the bacon, the sausage, the pancakes. Come on, Lizzie. And yet, there's that negative Nelly. Instead of saying, you know what, man, that's awesome that you're trying to do. Hang on, this gate got, whoa, 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 I almost went down. You know, instead of saying, you know what, that's awesome, man. Come on, Lizzie. That's awesome, man, that you're trying to, you know, have this men's conference, that you're trying to stick to your goals while you do it, that you're trying to help have a plan for not only yourself. This gate wants to fight with me. You know, not only for yourself, but for other men who are trying to make lifestyle changes. Instead of focusing on that or being grateful that he shared the information, the comment was about the brand of oats that he used. Oh, come on, give me a break. He wasn't serving honey buns or fried Twinkies. He had some Quaker oats in his stuff. And I can't remember, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was even Quaker steel cut oats. Somebody got hung up on the brand. All right, that's life, guys. There's always going to be somebody trying to bring you down. And it could be online trolls, or it could be in your own life. It could be a family member. So, oh, look at you. You're on another diet, huh? Or, I can't believe you're eating all that. Look at you eating all those beans and rice and those bananas. You know, that's never going to work for you. You're a diabetic. You're killing yourself. But you know what? They don't know. And honestly, most of my family doesn't know outside of my house that I've made any changes, because not that they're not supportive, but I didn't want to explain things that I didn't completely understand yet. I didn't want to risk being undermined or questioned or have my confidence and faith shaken in my plans of what I was doing. So sometimes you have to work in the silence. You just have to do it for yourself and do it quietly, and don't say anything until, you know, people notice on their own and then sincerely want to know. And even then, you still don't owe them an explanation. You know, I've got this channel I'm sharing with you, and I've got this channel because, you know what, someday some of my children may need this channel. They may need to know, how did mom do it? You know, I know mom got really debilitated for 12 years, and then she turned it back around. And how did she do it? And so this channel's for them. It's for my grandchildren, and it's for you. But most of my family doesn't even know I have a channel. So unless they happen to discover it on their own, they don't know about this, because they're not ready for the things that are going on in my life. And I'm not ready to explain it to them. I don't owe them an explanation. I really don't. But thank you guys for going on a walk with me. I can't believe I just really actually walked further than I have in a while. I walked 0.55 miles, and it looks like my heart rate barely broke. We'll have to check. I'll give you the details of that. I'll add that on at the end here. But just thank y'all for walking with me. That was actually fun, and I haven't been able to do that in a while. So really grateful for you joining me, and I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing where I live and getting to know me better. And I will see you later. Thank you.